The whole world quietly assumes that Amazon won simply by selling you things. But the business that actually runs a huge slice of the modern internet is one that you never once see, because a very large share of the entire web now quietly rents its computing power directly from Amazon. And, most surprising of all, Amazon first built that thing almost by accident, purely to solve a nagging problem deep inside its own walls. This is the story of Amazon, and of the plumbing that it slowly learned to rent out to the world. Here is the pattern worth learning. Call it renting out the plumbing. Because the infrastructure that you are forced to build just to solve your own internal bottleneck is very often a genuine product that other people will happily pay to rent. Your single most annoying and most expensive internal cost can quietly turn out to be somebody else's absolute dream utility. So travel back to the early 2000s. Deep inside Amazon, every single new project keeps slamming into the very same wall. The engineers are wasting long months rebuilding the exact same basic computing and storage over and over again before they can ever get around to building anything genuinely new at all. The sheer plumbing of it is quietly eating the whole company alive. So Amazon goes and does the sensible thing. It builds one single standard set of infrastructure services. A neat collection of building blocks that any internal team can simply plug straight into, instead of laboriously reinventing them every single time. It was a purely internal fix, built for a purely internal pain. And then came the one leap that quietly changed absolutely everything. Somebody inside the company suddenly realized a very simple thing. If this set of services solves our own bottleneck quite this well, then surely every other company on the entire planet has this exact same problem. And every one of them would gladly pay real money to rent this precise thing. And here, now, was the real fork in the road. The safe and the obvious path was simply to keep the whole thing locked away inside, to treat it as a private weapon, a quiet secret edge held over all the competitors. Because why on earth would you ever hand your own hard-won infrastructure over to complete strangers and even perhaps to your own direct rivals? But instead, in the year 2006, Amazon threw the doors wide open to the whole world. First came a simple storage service, and then raw computing power, rented out by the hour to quite literally anyone at all with a credit card. And in that moment, a boring internal cost center had quietly and completely become a product. And here is the single part that mattered the very most of all. Amazon did this whole thing years and years before anyone else had even begun to take the idea seriously. Its nearest great rivals would not actually arrive on the scene for another 2, and then another 4 whole years. And that enormous head start, in the end, turned out to be everything. Now imagine, instead, that Amazon had simply done the safe and sensible thing, and kept all of that plumbing locked firmly inside. The technology, of course, still gets quietly built. Its own beams still move that little bit faster. But it stays a pure cost, just another expense line on the books, forever. And someone else, eventually, goes on to build the cloud instead, and quietly claims all of those crucial early years for themselves. And Amazon, in doing so, simply hands away the single most valuable business that it would ever go on to create. But instead, that rented out plumbing grew into the beating profit engine of the entire company. Today, it quietly earns the clear majority of all of Amazon's operating profit, while making up only a fairly small slice of its total sales. That famous store that you actually see is not really where the true money is at all. The real money is in the invisible ground that everybody else now builds upon. And let us pause, just for a moment, to kill one very popular myth stone dead. The favorite story people love to tell is that Amazon somehow built all of this out of its leftover spare servers, sitting idle after the holiday rush. And that is simply and flatly not true at all. Its own engineers have said quite plainly that it was purpose, built right from the very first day, to be exactly and precisely this. It was never some lucky accident of spare capacity. It was a deliberate and a very bold choice to go and sell the plumbing. Look back then at the true shape of the whole thing. Amazon did not go out and discover this world-changing business somewhere far away, out in the wider market. It found it sitting right there, deep inside its very own walls, hidden inside its single most annoying and most horribly expensive internal headache. It simply had the rare imagination to see that its own private problem was, in fact, everybody's problem. So here is the lesson worth keeping. Go and look very hard at that ugly, expensive thing that you have quietly built just to keep your own operation limping along. The clumsy workaround, the little internal tool, the plumbing. And then ask yourself, honestly, is the very thing that you built purely to solve your own private problem actually a real product that the whole wide world would quietly line up and pay good money to rent?